Hello, and welcome to another video. So, this is a conversation that we have been talking about. We're going to continue to talk about. Recently, I had a new experience. And if you haven't seen the other video where I talk a little bit more about just some things that I have seen in the daycares continually, so nothing is changing, things are only getting worse. If you want to see that daycare specific video, go and watch those. I actually have two that are most recent. If you want to see that, go and check that out. This video specifically, I want to talk about some of the issues that I'm seeing amongst mothers, families, black women, not black women. I want to talk about it, okay? So without further ado, let's get into today's video. And if you're one of those persons, you're really squeamish when we start talking about some of the differences between black, white, Hispanic, all those things, this just might be a very triggering video for you, but we're gonna still go ahead and have the conversation. And that starts off with the first thing that I want to talk to you guys about. So I took a position recently at a daycare in an infant room. And the only reason, just to give you a little backdrop in case this is your first time here with me, the only reason that I took it was because it's the field that I like to work in, right? I've been a stay-at-home mom. My daughter's getting older. You know that whole conversation, if you ever met a homeschooling mom or just a mom who stays at home with her children, the biggest conversation, the biggest conflict would be, I want to make sure that my child is having her social needs met. I have very quickly learned that it's very different, even how it was before, but it's very different. That it's easy to get social needs met, okay? And we don't need to go off placing our children in harmful environments and situations to do that. But all that aside, like I said, this video is not about that. All that aside, I want to say this, and I'm sorry, this might hurt your feelings, but I'm going to go ahead and say it. I was having a conversation with my husband, and I noticed that every time I go into a daycare, whether it's to interview or whatever, so anytime I've been in like daycare centers, I always see this. I always see Caucasian people and Caucasian people. Sometimes they'll have a little Hispanic lady in there, and I mean like very Americanized Hispanic, and you know exactly what I mean. Hold your mule, don't get too mad, okay? In the front, and then in the back, they'll have either all Hispanic workers who speak very little English or black women. And I asked my husband, why is it that I don't see any like Caucasian women inside of these centers, but most of the children? So it's not like I'm working at, it's not like I've went to work at, it's not like I've seen these places. And when I say went to work at, I have a hard time even saying it because I haven't spent more than 2 weeks there. It's that bad. But when I go in the back and I see the children are primarily Caucasian. The children are primarily Caucasian, but the people who are caring for the children are not. And then I think to myself, well, where are your children? Because a lot of the mothers who are working with the children in daycare like that, their children are also either at school or in daycares that they can afford or with family because it's more affordable to them. So it really bothers me to know that even a person like myself, that's why I can't stay there, because when it all boils down, I just can't see how me giving my best to someone else's child in this classroom leaves room for me to push my child off on someone else. And I don't know what they're giving them. I don't know what they're giving her specifically. It's just a very weird space to put yourself in. But I want to tell you that it's normal to not feel like it's okay, because I want to tell you something. It's not okay. Like I said, you're going to have to watch those other videos where I talk about some of the things that are actually going on in the daycares. But it bothered me. The dynamic bothered me. And on the flip side, like I said, I've been a stay-at-home mom. I really, if I'm honest with you, been a stay-at-home mom we're about to be married 7 years. So I've been a stay-at-home mom for 7 years almost. And when I say stay-at-home mom, I really get to pick and choose when it is that I go out in the workplace. And we're going to talk about some of that, because I know some of you are going to say, I'm a single mama, I don't have no husband, and all that kind of stuff. We're going to talk about some of that. If you go watch some of my other videos, you'll learn a few things. Don't speak too fast, okay? Don't speak too fast. Don't speak out of turn. Wait your turn. Anyway, I've been a stay-at-home mom, but I also have got to mix up. I have gotten a chance to mix up the things that I do. At one point in time, I owned an in-home daycare so that my sister would not have to find childcare for my nephew. That's how I started the daycare. I did not even have Kennedy at the time I started daycare, okay? So that just goes to show you kind of my mindset in dealing with this. But I'm finding out that you're not really helping. People are not really helping you. Okay, I'm talking to you. You're not really being helped by continuing to perpetuate this cycle, dumping your kids off with other people. And the children that are suffering are the black and brown kids. And it's crazy that the children that are suffering the most, I'm not saying that other children are not suffering, but you know exactly what I mean. Look at the prison systems and otherwise. Look at the disadvantaged schools. And you wouldn't have to argue with me. A story is being painted. They are the disadvantaged population, but their parents are working with the population that is not so disadvantaged. You have to ask yourself, why is that? And why do I continue to perpetuate that cycle? Something's extremely wrong with it. And if that is your lifestyle, if you're a part of that cycle, if you're a part of that system, I urge you to really take a look at what it is that you're doing, that you have to put your children in this situation. And how can you change it? And let me tell you, sometimes changes happen little by little. You can change one thing that ultimately, like, I'll give you this little example. I was looking at this book that I wrote my notes down in, and I haven't seen this book in a while, obviously. And I'd say that was a good thing because I looked at the budget that's in this book, and it is $3,000 more than my current budget is now. Why do I say that? Because at one point in time, this budget looked normal. It looked like nothing, like we couldn't change anything in it. And somehow, some way, we actually did. $3,000. So you can look at your living, look at the way that you're living, and you can change things, especially, I urge you, if you have young children. And when I say young children, I really mean children below high school age. I'm not saying that high schools, we throw them off. That's not what I'm saying. And perhaps some of your high school, some of your older children actually need to be like rehabilitated because they have been through this stressful journey with you for quite some time. It's a lot. It's getting to be a lot. And honestly, with that even being said, the daycare stopped taking children, at least here in Texas. I believe it's 12. Very rarely you'll see programs except the 13-year-old unless it's like a teen program. You know why that is? Because by 12 years old, they say you should be able to stay at home alone. But really what it is that older group gives a lot more trouble than the younger crew. But this is the way that we have trained them all these years to behave. And we're wondering why this is the way they're behaving. We can't control it. And I want you to get some control in your household over your children, okay, over your life. So I said that black and brown women. And another thing is, like I said, I've been staying at home. So I would definitely say for the last year and a half, okay, maybe it is 2 years. The time kind of gets away from me, okay, because I'm not keeping track of time. I'm just minding my business now. Like, I'm not looking at my daughter's birthdays like, oh, I can't wait for you to grow. No, I'm not looking like that. So the time kind of gets away from me. But there have been times, and even now, like, let's say we go to the park. Let's say we go to like the bouncing places. Now, when I first started off on this journey, I'll tell you that I went to places where I had to spend money to entertain her. Now the park will do. Okay, we have a picnic at the park will do. But before, I thought to myself, because it's so foreign, I thought to myself, man, I have to spend money to be able to maintain her having fun at home with me. Imagine how crazy that is. But when I would go to these places like the bouncing places and just places that little kids should go, it wasn't expensive. That bouncing place that I would take her to, I didn't even have to pay to get in. The only thing we had to do is make sure we had on socks. I didn't have to pay. I only had to pay for her. I would buy her a little juice there, and I would make it like a fun day. And sometimes she'll even get one of the little squishy toys, bag of potato chips, something. Make it like a fun day and let her bounce her little heart out. I saw so many mothers there, none who were Hispanic, none who were black outside of myself. It was very rare that I saw someone outside of Caucasian women. I say, if you are screaming, it's because you know I'm telling the truth. And I thought to myself, where are the little black kids? You know where they are? They're all in school. When you go to the park, when I go to the park during the daytime, there are no kids. I'm telling you, I don't see any black and brown children outside. And you're the one who needs to be outside. And I'm not saying, I'm saying all children need to be outside, but your skin needs to be under sunlight. You actually need to be outside for prolonged periods of time. Even it's good for you. It is good for your health. And I don't see it, and it really bothers me. It bothers me. So because it bothers me so much, I found myself to be in this dilemma where I would go back into the environments to try to help the parents. But then once I get in the environment, I see that the parents that I'm trying to help are not even in this atmosphere. Because I'm sorry, I'm not going to be fighting. I've seen daycare reviews where people are like fighting. Like one lady come up there and like threaten you. I'm not doing that. So I don't go. You know what I mean? I don't have to be rude here. I'm not going to that type of facility. But when I go to a place that I'm comfortable working that actually has the amenities, I'm not finding the population of people that I'm trying to help. And when I say the population of people I'm trying to help, again, I'm not saying that children other than black and brown children need help. That's not what I'm saying. But apparently black and brown mamas need some help on learning what to do. Apparently. Because if those parents over there can afford to spend $300 a week, the conversation that I need to have is not one with them, because it's not a question of money. This is a choice of yours. You're making a choice. And yes, some of the black and brown mamas have made choices that put them in this situation, but perhaps you need an education conversation. Like perhaps you need a little learning. Perhaps you need somebody to sit down with you and tell you what you're doing is foolish. Like perhaps you need that. And I'm here to do that for you, but I haven't seen them in the environment. I have not. And it's sad. It's sad that you think that the best part of your child's life and the best part of their day is spent with someone else. And then you wonder why they get to be teenagers and they don't want nothing to do with you. They want to spend time with the people who have been spending time with them the whole time, their peers, doing God knows what. Because look, all the peers' parents, most of the time, it's the same thing. All of these children are looking for the love that you as a parent was supposed to provide for them. Where are you with your end of the bargain? But you don't want to come out. You wouldn't dare. Not you. You wouldn't just come out and say, I don't feel like doing it. You want to make all kind of excuses. You're tired, baby. I get tired too. Tired is a part of it. Tired is definitely a part of it. But this is seasonal. This is seasonal. Children don't stay children forever. And if you do your part, they get to move from that place of you have to take care of them to sometimes, by the grace of God, they turn around and they get to take care of you. How nice is that? How nice is that? So let's move on to the next thing. Before we move on to the next thing about the not taking your kids out. When you don't take the kids out and they don't get to see things, especially, let's talk about these little girls for a second, because I used to be a little girl. They don't get to see things. They don't get to experience things. When they get older, the first man that buys them a little lampshade, the first man that buys them a little TV, buys them a little handbag, they think that they need to give all of themselves to that man. That starts off very young. Okay, I'm not saying spend all your money trying to buy them everything that they want. No, there's definitely come on now, be wise. If you don't have money to be spending, don't be spending money, but just taking them out places, seeing different things. You would be surprised how many black and brown children don't even get to play with Play-Doh, like paint. Okay, so when you get older, the first time you see something that's just a little extravagant, you're just going with the wind. And speaking of extravagant, I don't have this in my notes, but I want to talk about this. The programs, the TV programs. I took that YouTube Kids off today. Today was the last day for the YouTube Kids. There's this program called Yippee, and I'm not sponsored by Yippee at all. Honestly, I like the idea of it, but I wish that as a follower of Christ, that there was easier ways to actually protect what it is that your child watches. Apparently we have to pay for those things. So Yippee is not free. That's unfortunate. That my kids can go on YouTube, search it up, whatever they want to search up. But something that's clean, they have to pay for. You know why? Because those people have to work hard to put that stuff on air. They do. It's just the world we live in. The bad stuff is easily accessible, and the good, the safety, the security, the things that you actually want for your children, they're not that accessible. I want you to wake up and realize that this is what's being done to our babies. Yeah, and stop getting caught up in all the problems that you have as an adult and realize that you're actually perpetuating the same cycle and you have the authority to break it. It can stop with you. It can stop with your children. And I want you to actually stop it. Not just talk about it, but be about it. Okay? Now we can move on to the next thing. All right. So this is the next one. Again, might not be so popular, but here we are. You have bought into the idea that all men are dogs, okay? They all know good, and you don't want one. You don't want one. You want children, but you don't want no man. And you just bought into the idea. You're going with it. You think that women are just, we're just so all sufficient and we can do everything by ourselves and we don't need no other brother. Yeah, that you bought into that. Okay. And you are seeing the fruit of you buying into that. And I want to tell you that at any point in time, you can change your mind. At any point in time, the Lord can renew your mind. Okay. You need your mind renewed every single day until you realize that there's a reason that God created a woman and a man. Okay. Is it hard for us to get along? It is. Are we different? Absolutely. Girl, we different. We different. Are women even smarter? And I don't mean like book smart. I mean like, I don't mean that. I mean like, are we more, I don't want to say analytical, but you know what I mean? Like we're very dynamic with our thinking. I can think about the grocery list. I can think about all the tasks that I need to do in the home. I can think about cooking dinner. I can still homeschool the kids. All of it. I can think about it all and still show up to think about you. I can make sure that it's all taken care of. Men don't do that. Men are very compartmental. Okay, so we're different. Do I get that? I get that. Is it hard to understand some of those differences? Well, the first thing I want to tell you to do is stop consuming content that paints men as something that you don't want, because you actually need one, especially if you call yourself wanting children. It's a necessity, because let me tell you, I say this all the time. I've said this before. I don't find joy in popping up and getting out of the bed in the morning and going to work. My husband does. You know what I find joy in? Making the grocery list and actually sticking to what I have on the grocery list and then highlighting it in like these pretty little colors. Not to record and show you. We're not doing that. Not to record and show you, just because it feels very like I'm managing the home. Managing the home makes me feel complete. And when I say managing the home, I mean managing the home, managing the children, managing myself. That makes me feel complete. None of what I have going on has anything to do with work. When YouTube started to feel like work, when I was doing those day in the life videos, I find that if I'm showing you my day in the life, I'm not really living my day in the life. So I had to stop that altogether, because I actually live my life. Like I'm actually living my day in the life. Okay, when my daughter's in there helping me cook, when we're sitting down playing with toys or Play-Doh or whatever, or painting, I don't want to film it. You know why? Because that means I'm not actually present and living it. Social media has got that twisted. And yes, I understand that some people have decided to make money that way. I do understand. I still think that there's very clear lines that you need to paint, because it gets very sticky. Okay, it does get very sticky. I say all that to say, stop saying you don't need a man. Stop saying you don't need a man. Stop saying you don't want one. Go watch some of the other videos. That's another video. We're going to talk about relationships in another video. I got you. But this one is not. I just wanted to put that in there. Stop saying that you don't want a man, because a man actually, it's the working together. It's that tandem work that you do that actually makes this thing very beautiful when it comes together. And you want it to be very beautiful when it comes together. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Here we go, another one. You know what that tone of voice means, right? I mean, I'm about to say something foul. Just a little bit. I know some of y'all just get so butthurt. You haven't learned from your mistakes or the mistakes of others. This could be your problem. You need to learn from your mistakes. Okay, you need to. And when I'm not saying children are a mistake. I'm just using this as an example. If you had a hard time taking care of one child, you're not married, you just out here having fun, you're having a hard time taking care of one child. Perhaps you having a hard time taking care of two kids. How do we get to 5? How do we get to 5 without you stopping and getting yourself some education? How do we get to 5 without you stopping and just getting some better life skills? How do we get to 5 and you never stopped and slowed down and said, perhaps I do need a husband because I want all of these children? Are the children the problem here? No. The children are the problem. You're the problem. And the problem will keep having these kids. You're the problem. You're not learning from your mistakes. You think that you learned after child number 1 that having all these kids wasn't gonna keep no man. You learned that. If you just go back in the Rolodex of your mind, you actually learned that lesson. And then you got up and you just forgot about it for some odd reason. Go back and remember it. Go get that memory, because you need that one, because you need to learn that lesson. You need to learn that you a parent daycare. Barely. You a parent daycare. You finally got on the government assistance to help you with the daycare, the NCI girl. And then you went and did it again. And then you thought it was appropriate to sit back and complain about how they didn't help you. You did it again. So when I started talking about the front part of this, about taking your kids and just really being there with your kids, you say, I can't do that because, I'm a single mother and their daddy don't do this. And I hear you. I hear you. But I'm also talking about you not learning from your mistakes. God is merciful. Okay. And I'm saying that because I know that. I'm saying that because I live that. God is merciful. Like I said, I was a single mother before I got married. I was. And I was also a single celibate mother before I got married. Okay. Because I learned my lesson. And some of y'all take that lesson and say, you know what? I get on some birth control. That's not you learning the lesson. That's you trying to skate through and try to make your own ways to how you can still get what you want and still get this over here too. No. I was a single celibate mother too. This is true. This is true. So I want you to learn from your mistakes and then the mistakes of others. Some of you guys grew up in hard situations. You grew up with a struggling mother, and yet you're doing the exact same thing that she did. And here you are becoming a struggling mother. Why you still complaining about what she did to you? You hear me say this all the time because I'm very serious about this. You are doing the exact same thing that she did to you. Except maybe this time you got a man who can afford to buy you a Louis bag. It's the exact same thing though. You're not married. You're just shacking up. You're just doing whatever. You're just living all kind of way. You still dropping your kids off so you can go to the club. You didn't learn from her lessons. You just want to talk about her. You're repeating the cycle. You're repeating the cycle. And it's a part of the problem. I do realize that it's a part of the problem. Okay. I do realize that. I realize that you want to turn on your YouTube and you want to watch the day in the lives of the mothers who have a certain type of lifestyle, but you don't actually want to see you don't want to look at the meat of that. You don't want to see the woman spending all her day cleaning up the house and then cooking the meals and then with the kids and then the husband coming home and her giving the husband a hug. You don't want to see that because you don't want to do that. You want your cake. You want to eat it too. You want a man who's going to buy you X, Y, and Z. You want to be able to finesse a man. Okay. And you're going to be the one finessed. You'll be the one finessed with all those kids. And I don't want it to be you. However, it's happening a lot. I'm just talking about it. I'm just trying to tell you that it doesn't have to be you, that you can change the course of your life, that you can change the direction that you're going in. You can do better. You can learn from your mistakes and you can learn from the mistakes of other people. Let's move on to the next one. This is the last thing that I'm going to talk about. And that is you are not using the season wisely. I will tell you that in the circles, like I talked about before, when I'm kind of out in public with Kenny, and like I said, there's not a lot of black and brown children. I do hear a lot of complaints though. I hear a lot of complaints from grandparents. I just hear a lot of complaints. Okay. And I want to say that to these complaints, use your season wisely. These children are not going to stay children forever. At some point in time, they're going to grow up and you're going to get to do your thing. I was talking to my husband about this because, and I'm not saying have children young. I'm not saying that, especially if you don't have stability within yourself, within your marriage, especially if you don't have stability. I'm not saying to have children young because it's hard, because it is expensive to live out here in these streets. Okay. It's expensive. It's expensive. It's hard. And it's hard to come across good people that will assist you in that hardship. Okay, without wanting something in return. I'm just being honest with you. So I'm not recommending that you be silly at all. But I hear a lot of complaints. I want you to use the season wisely. Like I said, realizing that this is only a season. And while you're using that season wisely, what can you do? Happy children is a part of that season, okay? Seeing to it that they actually have a pleasurable experience during this time of their life. So that when they do move on to the next phase. Now, I'm not saying for you to be treating these kids like little kids forever, okay? I had to learn this the hard way. That's why I'm telling it to you. I'm not saying that you continue to tell the 16-year-old the same old thing that you've been telling them since they were 6, because at some point in time, they have to take the lessons that you've given them and they have to fly with them. That's important. And if they choose not to fly, you have to be a mother enough to say, I gave you all, I didn't throw you into school. I didn't throw you in the school. I didn't throw you off to the wolves. I gave you all the necessary tools. And these are the choices that you make after I gave you the necessary tools. But a lot of the times you're stuck in guilt because you know that you haven't given them all the necessary tools. So happy children is a part of that. Okay. Happy children, education, getting more education for yourself. Okay. Learning new skills. And am I saying, girl, if your spouse is at home, maybe you want to do night school while the children are sleeping. We have online. Girl, back in the day, online school, the only thing we had to choose from was University of Phoenix. Okay, there's different things out there. I'm not gonna say anything bad. I don't want to be sued or nothing like that. There's different things out there. There's different online programs that you can choose. You can get some further education if that's what you desire, so that when the season is over, maybe you're ready to hop in that thing like you never left that thing. Okay, so continue to build yourself. Even I can't tell you how many people, and I'm not picking on anyone. I'm just saying you don't want to sit at home and just eat a bunch of ho-hos and ding-dongs, baby. No, you wake up in the morning, you're gonna take yourself a walk. You got get down there and do yourself some sit-ups, some push-ups. Keep yourself together. I made a video for you guys about this while just something nice to come home to and something nice for you to look at. You don't want to stay at home and just ride. Like, you still want to feel good about yourself, so that when the season is over, you get back in that thing like you never left that thing. You get to be one of those women who actually gets to enjoy. If God says the same, if God keeps you on this earth that long, you get to actually enjoy the fruits of your labor. That's what it is. That's what it looks like to enjoy the fruits of your labor. You don't have children that you're running down to the courthouse with and all this kind of stuff because of your negligence in their youth. You don't have those issues. You're just in there. You're enjoying life. You're enjoying your grandkids. Like, that's what you want. You want that, but you have to do those things in the interim. You have to do those things during the season to actually see the fruit of that. A happy husband. I did a video for you about this, so I'm not going to go into too much detail. A happy husband it's a good thing, okay? And I know you tell me, what about me? Well, what he going to do for me? He needs to be aiding in your happiness as well. You need to also be aiding in his. It's not that hard to make men excited, okay? It's really not that hard. And I'm going to tell you right now that it really works out for you. And I know you think I'm talking about some freaky stuff, and I kind of am. There is a little element of, we're married, okay? There is a little element of that, a big element of that. That's an element, okay? Like, just come on now. That's an element. But I will tell you, and I've told you before, that prayer is my weapon. Okay, so never leaving out God, never leaving out the spiritual actions, the spiritual praying and fasting, and just really spiritually covering my family. Okay, that's a huge, that just ties this all in together. Baby, you'll get strategy of how to do these things that I'm telling you about here today. I mentioned this already, and that was improving yourself and your skills. So getting new skills. Okay, maybe you can't cook. Maybe this man actually married you and you can't cook. Maybe you're not married and you can't cook. Girl, learn how to cook. It's expensive when you don't know how to cook. I'm not just trying to tell you to be some 50s housewife, because as I've said before, if you've been here, that's just not me. But I do cook. Maybe right now I cut some potatoes up and I'm gonna make the potatoes into some mashed potatoes. Okay, I'm gonna make those potatoes into some mashed potatoes. What else am I making? Pork. It was like pork that looked like steak, but pork was cheaper. Okay, but I said all that to say you actually need to learn how to put something together. Learn how to follow a recipe at the very least, so that come on, Proverbs 31 woman. That's a part of you tending to your home is really, girl, having good meals for people to come home to. It will make you happy. I'm telling you, the first time that I packed my husband's lunch and then I packed the meal, it just was like, wow, this is good. This is so good. For him to go into the kitchen Walk into the home and smell the food, and go into the kitchen and look just to see what it is that I'm preparing. Get excited to eat the meal that I prepared. That felt so good. And I'm not saying do stuff for other people to make you feel good. I'm not saying that, but you know exactly what I'm saying. Like, being a homemaker, being a mother, being a wife is more fulfilling if you actually look at the fulfilling aspects of it. If you steward your season well. And if you having a hard time with that, turn off that social media. Okay? I don't have this on here, but turn off the social media. Stop watching the people who have lifestyles that you can't even think about how you can afford. Okay? There's nothing wrong with that. Perhaps you'll get to that in the season, but you'll never get to having more and just, you know what I mean? Like, you can't get to that if all you do all day is sit around and do nothing. Like, gossip. Girl, God, I don't talk on the phone. My husband is the only person that called me and get a conversation, okay? If it's a business call, I'll take a business call. I answer little emails and stuff like that, little text message here and there. But I don't spend time on the phone like that. And if you're watching this video, you don't need to be looking at me. You could put this video up, okay? And you can sit there and wash some dishes. Like, there's stuff that you can be doing while you watch things that help to build you. And I hope that this video is helping to build you. But don't just be sitting around watching stuff that just people just showing off their life, and then you sitting back vicariously living through them while you go back to your pink slip that says that your light's about to be cut off. Like, come on now. We got to get it together. Turn off the YouTube. Turn off the YouTube. Watch stuff that's edifying. Okay, watch stuff that is edifying to you, that helps you build you. Because at the end of the day, that's what's important. It's just as worse to these pastors, okay? They're giving you all the info. These people on YouTube, you watching all their videos, they're getting all the money and telling you how great life is while you sit back like life ain't so great. Okay, because you sitting here watching them. Imagine that. Speaking of which, notice I took all the stuff off the website. I ain't selling nothing. I'm just not selling anything. It's free, okay? Because I don't want to be doing what I just told you. Sitting around telling you how good life is. No, I'm about to tell you how good things are because I actually put in the work for things to get better. And that's why I can tell you that you need to do the same. Okay? Yeah, that's the last thing. When your season is ready to shift, baby, you'll shift those seasons. You'll shift through that season. The season that your children are children, okay? And it's their childhood. You shift through it with just poise and grace, okay? And I want that for you. As always, if you have a question, ask a question. And I'll see you in the next video.